20s, and I'm gambling that I'm going to wind up playing pro ball. In the off season, I was the possessed broker because I said I don't want to be painting houses or be in my early 30s, all right, and being, starting out from scratch. Okay, I was a cold calling cowboy. Okay, the NFLPA actually hasn't been able to keep up with me. All right, I didn't know at the time that I had the highest net worth. Okay, you should look at that program. It's an absolute joke. They still haven't addressed it. And I have some real concerns about, a young athlete. Hey, Fred Jackson, Steve Atwater, several guys have been hit extremely hard. Our focus isn't on the things that we should be talking about. I think that they have a vested interest in keeping the players divided. You have the Marinos and you have all the rich guys, and they get all the publicity. You have the other 90% of the league that are going paycheck to paycheck or injured. And I heard all the stories when I cold called the players during the strike. So, I just think there's some guys out there that have done some great things like Archie Roberts. Matt Burke is working for the NFLPA now. He's a Harvard guy. I think the NFL's scared of me. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I called Roger Goodell's office. All I wanted to do was speak to him. And his secretary went to my college. And I sit there and go, why can't this guy talk to me? The NFLPA's run scared. Why? Because they've done the right thing. They've given me some grants. But I've been embarrassed with how archaic they are. And I wonder where the leadership is. And when we talked about Bernie Parrish called me. And he wrote a book. Okay? And he won a $22 million lawsuit against our own union with the video games that we talked about. And that's in one of our other shows. And I sit back and go, let's take a rocket scientist to realize that this NFL Players Association needs a good spanking. It needs to get up to speed because they are light years behind what the players actually need. And I warned them. I said, guys, you got guys, trust me when I tell you, they've been raised on technology. They're not going to be able to handle adversity. And they're going to get in their 40s and they're going to fold like a cheap suit because they've been carried all their life. Okay, and I come from the school of hard knocks. Jason Garrett's father, I used to speak to him. And you want to talk about a tough SOB. Okay? And I was on the phone. I was furious with him. And he set me straight. And he said, hey, look, when I was a kid and I was a coach, we were flat broke and I had my wife and 3 kids in the back seat, and I didn't know whether I was going to get, dude, the generation before us even had it worse. The Johnny Unitas's, Dick Mozalewski's, the Rosie Greers. So, we kind of sit back and go, I think what we need to do is, on our future shows, because I was one of the blessed guys, I took negatives and turned into positives. But we're nowhere near where we need to be in the game of pro football.
Right.
Okay, and it's like, I sit back now and, I think it's time that, and that's one of the reasons why I do these shows. I'm not out here, trying to blow my own horn. I'm trying to educate people to make the game better, for the guys coming behind me because I had a lot of fun with it. But there was a lot of heartache and a lot of stuff that didn't necessarily need to be there because of them having money involved in it. All right, and this is what the young kids are going through today out there with student loans and everything else. And one of the things that we try to do is keep the dialogue open. Hell, they've got our kids so divided now that, a guy shakes a president's hand, was the actor's name Vince Vaughn? He gets all this freaking hate mail. Well, we got to be smart enough to sit back. We need to sit in a room, okay, and figure it out and have both sides come together to solve anything today. So I think it's a phase that we're going through because that pendulum's so far to the left. But it'll start going back to the middle, okay, and we don't need to hype it. We just need to be straight on course and wait for the system to catch up with us and relate some of our stories of back in the day so the kids will learn what we've had to do to get where we're at today. And then we need to stop whining and complaining and get in there and fix it because all it is a redistribution of the wealth. That's all it is. And I'm just speaking about the world of professional football. I can only speak for the guys that played from 76 to 87.
Right.
But I get intel a little bit, there's some guys on Facebook that kind of let me know because they just put it out there, and they were like 10, 12 years after me, what they were making. They were making chump change for how good they were. Hell, I ran into a couple of guys that, knew some of the guys in the New York Giants. They were their superstars. And when I found out what they were making, I was insulted. I'm going, this is not right. And so, I don't have anything against the National Football League. I just think that we're at the point now where they've made enough money that we can start to address some of these issues that they should have addressed 20 or 30 years ago. And we're kind of working towards that goal. We got to continue to stay after it. But we don't need to be radical when we do it either. You know what I'm saying? There's a time and a place to do it.
Okay, we got about another minute to go. Any final thoughts, Bill, about what we've talked about? Your reflection here, your South Florida days. I know the area's changed a lot. Back in the day, you had the New York Yankees, Miami Hurricanes, and the Fort Lauderdale Yankees. Now, obviously, it's become a 4 major sports town. We'll get into that another time. But, boy, the area has definitely grown considerably on the South Florida sports scene for sure.
Well, I watched Howard Snellenberger build the University of Miami into the U.
Right.
Hell, I coached in Florida when they won the national championship, so I know what they had down there.
Right.
They're talking about Louisiana State being the best team. Well, I don't know. I have to put the Canes up in there and watch those guys play, but you can't compare generations.
Right.
I was lucky enough to meet George Steinbrenner and the New York Yankees players in the Senior Professional Baseball League after that, and they lived right in this complex right next to me, so that was a lot of fun. I got to meet the Dolphins when they were a really, really good team with Coach Shula. Mm-hmm. Kim Camper and Baumhauer and A.J. Dewey and the Fish and Crash, all those guys. So it doesn't get any better than living in South Florida and watching the evolution of all this stuff and see where we're at today. So I just feel blessed that, God was shining on my butt, and I got a chance to live my dreams. But maybe I didn't make the kind of money, but money doesn't make the man. Lifestyle does, and giving back and having integrity and manners and all those types of things. So I feel blessed. Hell, Scotty, I got you. Look at what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We got a chance to kick some butt.
Right.
And I just think, people will figure it out as we move forward that, we bring a voice to the table that needs to be listened to affect great change.
Without a doubt, and I think you've given us a very good synopsis of everything here, and it's been good to listen to your stories tonight, Bill, for sure. So, yeah, and I believe it or not, I have lived part of that in my own way. I worked with Don Shula for a couple of years, Howard Schnellenberger, not only what he did with Miami, but Florida Atlantic. And I wrote a story on George Steinbrenner when he was with the Fort Lauderdale Yankees. So our paths have crossed in similar ways under different circumstances. So it's been neat that you've been able to reflect, and I bet very few people on this broadcast know anything about the Hollywood Sportatorium. We won't get into that, but that was the only major indoor venue they had back at the time. But yeah, it was definitely a very interesting time. Yeah, there was no such thing as South Beach. It was all Miami Beach, the Fontainebleau, and so forth. So it's just definitely changed quite a bit, Bill, from the time that you and I were back in the day, that we were probably in the same area, didn't know anything about each other, but good old 2019, man, 2018, 2020. I may not have 2020 vision, but we're in the year 2020, and I think our vision is good for the future in terms of what the show has to offer. So, Bill, it's been a pleasure listening to your reflections here in South Florida back in the day, and I'm sure we'll hopefully have a chance to readdress this subject at another time. But with the Super Bowl coming, I don't think the timing could be more appropriate than to address it tonight, Bill. Good job, buddy, as usual. And we look forward to doing another broadcast with Motormouth the Wild Bill Winters. And, of course, Bill Winters appears on the Sports Exchange as well. So, Bill, once again, good job. We appreciate all the insight, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night.
We are blessed. Good night.